Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. It's been a little while, been busy, but jumping back in with our first one back is just going to be a recap of WWDC. And on top of that, I've actually gotten to see some preview reviews slash thoughts on the Mac, not the Mac, the Vision Pro, which is Apple's new AR headset, which is what we're just going to start with for talking here. Now, if you didn't know, Apple basically announced a Vision Pro VR headset. This was a week ago, so you should know by now. But this is a fascinating product, not just because of its capability as a AR slash VR headset, but by price and what Apple is targeting with this headset. As we know, Apple's never been the biggest fan of gaming. They're not number one when it comes to pushing gaming. They don't really care. Now, they did actually make an effort during part of their event when they were showing off that M2 can actually run games pretty well. So they did talk about it to an extent, but it was not the focus of anything. And what I would say they mostly showed off with Vision Pro is using it in an environment where you don't have monitors with you. Maybe you have your laptop and your headset, and then you can make big monitors to use with it. Not as something that you would be playing games on, or it was mostly for content watching slash, like I said, taking your current environment and making it part of your virtual experience. Now, the other weird thing they did here is letting your eyes show through. I understand, and at the same time, I don't really get it. But let's talk about what is the purpose of this $3,500 headset. So yes, $3,500. I think this is going to be very fascinating. Of just finishing a podcast with Lex Friedman and Mark Zuckerberg, and they talked about Quest 3 a little bit. And if Quest 3 lives up to what they were discussing on that show, I don't know who's going to buy this other than top company executives or something like that, because it's just not going to be it, because you can't do everything you want to do on there. That said, this headset's really cool. You can control it with just your hands and eyes, so it uses eye tracking and hand tracking to do all your scrolling, your selecting, your picking things out, all of that stuff completely done by your hands and your eyes. Now, this will be coming early next year in the US, and from what I have heard, so you have your little, crown there, a bigger crown here. Apple loves their crown. You have really cool audio chips right here. The headband and headset are supposed to actually be very comfortable from what I've heard. I've also heard they're fairly heavy, so it might not be the most fun to wear for the entire 2 hours that the battery can last up to. But creators have said that in the half-hour previews they were allowed, that it did get a little bit heavy towards the end. I've seen a couple creators state that. Not saying it's uncomfortable to wear while you're wearing it, but it is a heavy headset. It's kind of like AirPods Max. It's built strong, and it's got weight to it, and it's quality materials, and that's just what you're going to get. But here's a little bit of what I was talking about here. Almost all of their demos showed something similar to this, where you can see they have their mail open on one side, Safari in the middle, and another Safari tab on the left, I think. But the main point being is she's able to see her entire environment, the real things in her environment, but she also gets these 3 monitors that are coming right off of her laptop in front of her, which are kind of cool to have that, but that's something like Quest 2 can do that. Now, it only does it in black and white, and Quest 2 was also only $300. So there's a giant price difference in the capability here. But what I was listening to Mark Zuckerberg talk about with Quest 3 is it's going to have color pass-through like this, and it's going to be able to augment your environment. Now, Apple didn't show off too much augmentation of their environment other than with Mac products to pull the screen up above to a bigger screen. But one of the things that I've talked about with Quest 3 is they were discussing that there was a setup where basically you were doing zombies, COD Zombies. If you've ever played that, it's basically survival in a limited area, and every round a certain amount of enemies spawn, you have to kill them. And what they were doing is they would add, if you were in a room with no windows, it would add windows to the room, and you'd be able to see other people in the room with you and your environment. If you, this table here would be in there for me, but I'd be able to, the virtual gun I was using, I could set down on the table and then I'd be able to come back to the table and like pick up the virtual gun. And so that was actually really cool to like listen. Obviously, it's not out yet. It's supposed to come out in the fall. But if that's true, for $3,500, is it worth what you're getting here? Now, Quest can also already do hand tracking and eye tracking. It's not the best, but they can already do it, and it's way less of a price. They're targeting different things here, I guess, is the main point of this, where they're trying to have your apps live in your space. Now, they didn't really have any third-party apps to really show off here. Almost all of it was just Apple stuff. Part of announcing it now and saying it's going to be ready next year is to give some developers time to, like, do this stuff. So Apple must have a pretty easy way to make things possible. As you can see here, they are showing off some ways to game here in this little entertainment thing, if it ever scrolls back to it, where you can pick up a controller and play. Now, this is an Apple Arcade game is the only thing here. So there is a little bit of... It's not like you're getting full-on VR games. Like, you're not going to get Beat Saber or anything like that from what we've seen so far. Now, that said, Vision Pro can... It's got pretty amazing... screens. I believe they said that if you were to take 1 pixel from the iPhone and cut it into 64, that would be the density of the pixels in this headset. So it's going to have extreme sharpness, extreme clarity. You're going to be able to FaceTime people from it, see them walk around, do things, and they're going to see an avatar which you can scan into the headset by pointing the headset at your face. It'll scan your face, and then it'll do all the eye tracking and face tracking to do the whatever you're doing, it'll have your avatar do it in the FaceTime for them, which is kind of weird. One of the other things they showed off is 3D cameras to capture your memories here. Let's see if they have anything here. Yeah, so like this picture here. This here, I'm sorry, I'm never doing this with the headset. I am not interested. To wear your headset around like this and watch things, this glass here that we're talking about, it's displays. You're not actually looking through the headset. It's not transparent. It is taking your avatar that you scanned in, tracking your eyes, tracking them onto the screens on the outside, and displaying that through, which looks super weird, by the way. And I'm not doing this. I am not ever going to watch with the headset on. I'm not going to watch people, like, things happening in front of me and be like, I want to record this. Now, if it gets to the point where it's a pair of sunglasses like this, and they fit, and they're, like, pretty nice, like we've seen a little bit of this with Snapchat's glasses, and Google Glass tried to do this, but if they get to the point where it's like the Tony Stark level of glasses, then that's more, I would be willing to do that. An entire headset like this feels so wrong. One of the other things we should mention here is that the battery pack actually is meant to sit in your pocket, gets you 2 hours of battery, and even with the battery not in the actual headset, people were saying it was heavy. So that's just something to note. It is cool, though, like, if you were watching a movie, you know, people like to put lights on their stuff that match up to the scene of the movie they're watching and, like, make the ambience closer. But a headset like this could actually, like, just... doesn't even have to be the exact environment, because if you're watching what's happening in front of you, you can only focus on such a narrow field anyways, that if you're like watching a forest scene and it just fills in the rest with forest, that could make it quite a bit more immersive. But that's another thing that other headsets can do. So what are you really getting with this $3,500 price tag? You're going to get something really cool. Obviously, it's from Apple. I mean, it looks really nice. The sound's going to be great. It's Apple. It's going to be a great product. It's not going to be like it's a bad thing. But I think we're a little bit in the AirPods Max space where for $200 less, sure, the build quality won't be there, but the sound, the noise cancellation, all of that'll be there. Other thing you're getting with this is just kind of you're getting the Apple ecosystem. So you're getting the ability to, if you're doing something on your laptop, you pull it into your headset. You're doing something on your phone, you pull it into your headset. You don't have to reconnect it to other things. It all just works, right? That's the Apple promise here. But as cool as it is, as great as it will be, I don't know. I just, the price tag just gets me. It just hangs me up, because you have people like Meta or Oculus, which are they're the same company, but I'm going to use them as our example here. But the Oculus Quest 3 is supposed to be about 40% smaller than the Oculus Quest 2, and get better performance. I think he said something on the podcast like 2 times the graphical performance, which would be insane because the life of that headset has already been crazy, and I just don't see a reason. Zuckerberg even said it on the podcast. He was like, "This is cool. This is actually going to bring attention to the space. This is going to make the space more legit." As Apple always does, when it enters a field, it makes things more legit. But I think the main benefactory of the Apple doing this is going to be the Quest product. I don't think we're going to see anything super cool here. So an M2 chip is actually in the headset to power it all on and make things happen and run Vision OS. And the brand new R1 chip is designed to dedicated processes from the cameras, sensors, and microphones and streaming images to the display within 12 milliseconds. So that's something that is super impressive. 12 milliseconds is almost, virtually lag free. It's Apple says it right here, and they're not wrong. And as always, Apple's big privacy thing here as well. You'll be able to connect it to your phone. There's a new platform to code with. And I believe Apple also announced a way to translate your games over to it to try and make it a little bit easier for people to make things quickly. I'm trying to see here if I have any other notes here. Yeah, they said the eye tracking, reviewers that got to use it for 30 minutes said the eye tracking, the hand tracking is insane. It's way better than everyone else, and this product still has, 8 months till it's actually going to be released to the public. And with that, there's something to be said about if you're using a VR, AR headset, having controllers. Because even if, you're picking up physical things and if you're in an AR environment, an augmented reality environment, you can grab them, you can feel them, you feel the actual objects. You get tactile feedback. Now, without controllers, if you go to pick up a virtual object, like, you don't feel anything, there's no vibration, there's no sense of actually holding it, which I think could be the one thing that, takes this off of it. And again, I'm going to keep comparing it to Quest 3 because Zuckerberg was talking about it, and I thought it was fascinating I think he said it's going to be $500, what it's going to be capable of. He said you'll be able to do all that stuff with it. Eye tracking, hand tracking will all be able to be done with Quest 3. And again, that's at $500. We're shaving $3,000 off that price tag. I'm not saying it's going to be as sharp, as clear as, I don't think the actual displays you're looking at are going to be nearly as good as Apple's AirPods. That said, are they going to be plenty good for just about everybody who uses them? Probably. And then to be said, having controllers. So when you pick something up in a virtual world, you get a little vibration, you get a rumble that makes it feel like, okay, I actually grabbed it. I just grabbed it. Like it's actually in my hand. I think that's just going to be lacking here, and it's kind of unfortunate to see that. Now, one other thing, the last thing here is with the 2-hour battery, you can plug into the battery to a wall and keep using the headset. So you could use it for more than 2 hours, but you'll be tethered at that point, and so on. Yeah, they showed off some cool stuff with it, but I think they missed the mark here, to be honest. Unfortunately, when you're not a gaming company, and that's pretty much all VR is right now, you're basically trying to, with what they showed off at the event, obviously it's more capable. Like, you're not doing this. You're not staring at your husband with your headset on, having a conversation. I don't think people are ready for that yet. Maybe I'll be shocked. Maybe they'll prove me wrong. But I think what Apple's mainly going to end up trying to convince people to do here is you're trying to convince people that don't bother buying a $3,500 TV. Like, you could buy a $3,500 TV, everyone in your house can sit down and watch it at the same time. You don't want that. You want a personal movie theater strapped onto your face, and yeah, it'll offer you FaceTime, yeah, it'll offer you web browsing, be able to video edit on it if you have a laptop with you, and blah, 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 blah. Maybe at some point you won't need a laptop with you, but for right now, that's kind of how they showed off doing things like that. And yeah, this is the theater thing. Why wouldn't you just buy a TV? I feel like most of what they showed off is just having more monitors. But for $3,500, you could get so many things and the monitors that they're making you, showing off here. It's a weirdly placed product. I think we'll see what happens. Maybe in 8 months, these third-party apps will come along and completely change how I see this product. But I think at the price point for what they showed it capable of, as of right now, this can be a really rough sell. And at the end of the day, there's still Apple fanboys and they're going to sell it. Next up here, we just have Apple released a newer MacBook. So they released a MacBook Air 15-inch. So that's kind of the big deal here. Along with all the M2 stuff, the 15-inch now is that. It also is, I believe, the thinnest 15-inch to ever occur in the face of the planet. It's really thin. That's kind of that. It's really thin. It has an M2 chip. And it uses, I don't know why we decided to go back from, we had standardized everything to USB-C. And then we were like, nah, MagSafe's coming back. And so I don't get that, Apple. Just don't. But yeah, all you need to know, Apple M2 chip with an 8-core CPU, 4 performance cores, 4 efficiency cores, 10-core GPU, 16-core neural engine. Starts at $1,300. It's the thinnest ever at 15 inches. It is 1.15 centimeters thin, 18 hours of battery life, and available on the 13th, or 3 days as of recording this. Next up, we just have another little update here. Mac Studio is getting a refresh with the M2 Max and M2 Ultra. As you can see here, these chips, the M2 Max comes with a 12-core CPU, 30-core GPU, and a 16-core neural engine. And that starts you at about $2,000 for that Mac Studio. Other than that, pretty much nothing else changed here. The M2 Ultra is a 24-core CPU, a 60-core GPU, and a 32-core neural engine. So just about doubles the stats and is just about double the price at $4,000 for that. And that's those two things. And then I believe we got not out of the blue, but Mac Pro is actually getting a update here. In case you thought your $50,000 computer was never going to get another update, well, you're slightly wrong and you're going to be very disappointed, because what they did here is the Mac Pro is coming with an M2 Ultra chip, and we'll get more PCIe expansion starting at $7,000 for the M2 Ultra chip, which begs the question, what are you doing on a Mac Pro that you can't do on the Mac Studio? Because it's just cheaper to go with the Mac Studio, and it's smaller. And I don't know. Maybe if you're a game designer, you need this. But this is also coming out on the 13th here. Nothing super outstanding here, other than the ability to play back up to 22 streams of 8K ProRes video playback is what the M2 Ultra is capable of. Support to up to 8 displays on this chip as well. It's really fast. It's Mac M2. Whatever you were expecting is what it is, and let's not think about that. Only bright side here is now we're on M.2, or sorry, not M.2. We're on M2, and with that, almost all the apps have already been translated over to Apple's new silicon, so things just work great on there. Now there will be PCIe expansion here. You're gonna have four PCIe 8. Holy crap! I can't speak good right now. You're gonna have a lot of PCIe slots, up to like a lot of them. Basically, you're gonna have 4 8x slots, 2 16x slots, and 4. Holy crap! And 1 4x slot. Can't speak right now when talking about the Mac Pro, but it's cool. Your cheese grater is getting an upgrade so you can grate cheese faster. On the front, you'll have 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports. On the back, you'll have 6 Thunderbolt 4, 2 10GB Ethernets, 1 headphone jack, USB-A times 2, and 2 HDMI ports. So if you're going to plan on plugging in those 8 monitors, you better have an expansion card to plug in said 8 monitors. Pretty much nothing else was announced with that. Pretty boring Apple stuff with the Mac Studio and Mac Pro. And then we got an iOS 17 preview. So iOS 17, what are we getting? What's the big update coming to iPhones this year? Nothing. It is a minor Apple update year for that. So when people call you, you can choose to customize what they see. If you are calling an iPhone from an iPhone, you will be able to do this. If you want, when you call your friends, for it to be a picture of you that says say hi, or if you want it to be your little Apple avatar, whatever they call that, you can do that as well. And then the other thing they're adding is Google Stream Call, basically, where it'll only be for voicemails, but if you send a call to voicemail, you will be able to see a live transcript of the message on your screen in real time, which is kind of cool, I guess. They redoing messages a tiny bit, and then you'll be able to automatically notify people when you arrive at your destination. So if you text them, let them know when I get home, or ask Siri to, or whatever, it'll just send them that message, check in, home, blah, 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 got home around 11. Sick. In case you want your friends to know where you are at all times even more. You'll be able to catch up to where you left off in group chats, search filters, be able to filter your searches, and all this stuff seems like it should have been here forever ago, so that's why it's kind of boring here. But you'll be able to share your location like Snapchat, so people can follow you everywhere you go. Read an audio message transcript, so if people send you an audio message because they're too lazy to type things out, it will type it out for you, and hopefully Siri's good at that. Also, live stickers are here. They added GIFs to iMessage, essentially. And FaceTime is getting the ability to record a voicemail. If you FaceTime somebody, they don't pick up, you can leave a video voicemail for them on your FaceTime. FaceTime's coming to Apple TV with using your phone as the camera. So set your phone up to see you, and then you can stream you to the TV. I think the biggest thing that came, and honestly the least boring part of the entire iOS 17 preview, was standby mode, which is basically always on display when you put your phone on a stand and when it's charging. So it has to be charging, and then you can set it down, and you can have things be live on there. Like they show here, you can show that your Uber Eats, where it's at, they're preparing your order, it's arriving then. It looks like they're building a little MagSafe stand for you to do this with as well. And then Siri will take it to the next level as well, which basically, if you bought a Google Home display and you liked your Google Home display, well, if you didn't need to use your phone, you can do that with your iPhone now and hope that Siri knows what's going on with your life. Other than that, minor updates to widgets and everything like that. They added name drop, which is just simple contact sharing, basically, if you put your phones closer together. And then the other big AirDrop update was that if you disconnect from your Wi-Fi and you were transferring something, it will continue, and will just continue to transfer things anyways. They added more things to SharePlay, and SharePlay is basically just going to be the same thing as Handoff, it seems to me, and they renamed it because Apple. And they're adding a journal app. In case you wanted to journal all your days on your iPhone, you'll be able to do that now, and it'll stay directly on your iPhone. They're also fixing autocorrect. It'll do what Gmail does. So Gmail, when you're typing something out, will predict what you might be finishing to type out, and you can hit enter, and it'll fill it all out. You can do the same thing now on iPhones, and then autocorrect is supposed to be getting better. So whenever you ducking hate somebody, it'll actually type the correct word. There's more to it. Safari's getting better, blah, 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 blah. Music's getting better, blah, blah, blah. AirPlay's getting a little bit smarter. That's basically it. AirPlay's coming to hotel rooms too, I believe. We'll talk a little bit about iPadOS. Really not too much different here from the other one. More personalization to your lock screen coming here. I think that's pretty much it. I can't remember anything else that's different on iPadOS 17. So if you liked anything from iOS 17, you will also like what the iPad's getting here. And that's about it, I believe. I guess PDFs and notes. You're going to be able to fill out documents faster with autofill. Autofill will now work on PDFs and stuff like that. I think that was coming to iOS 17 too. We just didn't talk about it yet. But pretty simple. And then lastly here, the last big thing from the event is macOS Sonoma, which is just another boring update. You're going to get screensavers now. In case you didn't like the default ones, you'll be able to set your own. Kind of cool. They're adding widgets to desktop. This is basically like tiles from Windows, but you'll be able to place them wherever you want on your desktop. Seems like it could get cluttered really fast. It's interesting that they held off on doing widgets forever when Android had them. And then they added it to iOS, and they're like, oh, let's throw it on macOS. But then, you'll be able to access, basically, you can add your iPhone widgets to your desktop without having to install those same apps onto your Mac, which that's pretty cool. Widgets will fade in and out for better focus. So if you open something up and it's not full screen, it'll fade out your widgets in the background. So that's kind of a cool update. At least they're adding something cool. the new presenter overlay. They basically are going out of their way to make Zoom better. So the new presenter overlay will keep you part of the conversation when sharing your screen, choosing from two overlays, large and small. The large overlay keeps the spotlight on you and your screen framed next to you on a separate layer. Then you can move and walk in front of your context. Basically, would add it like a whiteboard behind you, and then you can pretend you're the weatherman. And then you can float over your shared screen like a little avatar dude in the upper corner, like you would expect if you're watching a YouTube video like this. So pretty cool. Now you can react and stuff like that and give real-time feedback to people when you're on a video call with them. Poggers. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Stay in frame. You can use your iPhone as your camera, and you'll have tan and pilt controls and all of this stuff just built right into macOS to use on all the other apps. Safari's update, getting more secure. The other cool thing here is they're adding it so that you can turn websites into apps on your dock. So this is kind of like if you were to add a website to your home screen on your iPhone, but for your MacBook. It's probably the easiest way to explain that. And then all the rest of these, I believe, are pretty much just the same thing we're getting to see in iOS 17. So nothing too major here. The biggest thing, which we spent the most time on, is easily the headset. The only last thing here to note about the new macOS is that Mac, they actually took a tiny bit of time and talked about gaming. So they're introducing game mode, which will automatically give games priority on the CPU and GPU of your Mac, lowering usage for background tasks and dramatically reduces latency with wireless accessories like AirPods, your favorite controllers, and for responsiveness you can feel. So it looks like you can pair PlayStation controllers to your Mac, and I think they just did that because of their Bluetooth, and that's about that. But we'll see. If they actually start getting a ton of gaming stuff, that's going to be awesome, but we're going to have to wait and see if that ever actually occurs. And then you just have lockdown mode, which is just more security. Pretty basic mode here. Yeah. Boom. Lockdown mode can be enabled to help lock you down from internet viruses like herpes. So let's get it. macOS coming to a lot of devices that you would expect. If you have an M series device, you will be able to get it. And with that, I'll catch you guys in the next one. I hope you enjoyed this quick-ish update of the Mac event. Vision Pro, we'll see if that changes anything. I'm going to say it again because I've said it a lot, but I think Quest 3 is just going to destroy this thing when it comes to sales. And I think they're expecting that. So I think I read somewhere they're expecting about 1 million devices of Vision Pro to get sold. And for a first-gen device, that's not that bad. Maybe for Apple, it's a little off, but not too bad overall. And with that, I'll see you guys in the simulation. Oh, that was cringe.